So, welcome everybody to another podcast of the Thriving LDS Singles. It's wonderful to have you here. I am Kay and my co-host Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about money in relationships. And money is such a big topic. And you'll often hear the statistic that money is one of the big causes of divorce. And so we both know that experience of dealing with money in our marriage and dealing with money as singles. And wow, yeah, we have lots to learn about money. And we can all sit here and go, we wish we didn't have such a thing as money. And, you know, when are we going to live the law of consecration and just have what we need? That's not the world.
What's the definition of what we need, right? Everyone has a different definition.
Everybody's got a different definition of what we need. Absolutely. But that's not the world we live in. So the world we live in, we have to deal with money. So I've discovered a really important bit about money, which is like we have different money styles, different money types.
Yeah.
And Kim and I have talked about this before. And I've
very much took a test way back, long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago, we talked about this. So Kim is a nurturer, and you've probably figured that out about Kim anyway, because she's just a lovely person. And her lovely desire to just help everybody, give away money. Money's just for, so tell us about that, Kim. What's it like being a nurturer with money?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because I don't place, I would much rather give money to somebody else and see the joy that it brings them, even at my own expense, which is the danger. That's the danger part. And for a long time, I was like, this is bad. This is not a good thing. And finally, I just decided I need to just embrace it because I do love to nurture and give to people. And I have to be careful and not get taken advantage of by that. But it just brings me a lot of joy, and I don't me having things isn't a priority for me. So
yeah, so like all of our personality traits, they've got good sides and bad sides.
Yeah.
So when you put
strength is your weakness, right?
Your strength is your weakness, yeah. So I mean, being a nurturer is just a wonderful trait, and I'm sure your children enjoyed it when they were little.
Well, I might have been too good of a nurturer. I probably let them off a little too easy. I'm pretty sure.
But you know, putting yourself last is not what you're meant to do either.
Yeah. Or jeopardizing my livelihood just to see a smile on someone else's face, which I'm guilty of. Sadly.
Straight, but yes, you've got to look after your own money. I've got nearly the opposite traits. I'm a maverick, which means, you know, like I'll make decisions instantly. I'll go and do whatever's right in front of me. I'll go and jump when I'm, you know, probably should think about it a bit. And one of my spending habits was to spend everything I had. So in my marriage, it meant that I was given like money for the housekeeping, and I would literally spend it all. I would spend every single cent. And, you know, we would talk about budgets, and I'll like, oh yeah, well, you know, just give me the money and I'll spend it. It's like I'm sure you've all heard that joke in marriages of like, you know, the poor guy earns it all and the woman gets to spend it. It's like, you know, it's not quite that. I'm spending it on food and paying bills and, you know,
you're responsible, or does it cause you to be irresponsible sometimes? Because being a nurturer causes me to be irresponsible sometimes.
So that's right. So I certainly had the ability to pay all the bills first. But yeah, I would literally spend everything we earned, like everything I got, I spent. So you know, I can jump too much.
Yeah.
My husband was the accumulator type, where he likes to see money in the bank, and he liked to save, and he liked to have money in the savings account, which is a brilliant type. Like, you know, that's what we're all told. We need to have savings. We need to be, you know, careful with our money.
Yeah.
But
Need
you
an
could
emergency fund at least for sure.
in an emergency fund. But you can go so far that you don't spend money on, nice things for now, like you're accumulating money for the future, but you don't spend money now and enjoy your life now. So there's all these different ways that we've learnt to manage money, and they're all good and they're all bad. Like they've all got that.
They all have their
It's
strengths and they all have their weaknesses.
a better way of saying it. Yes.
But but I think it's bringing up a really important point, which is you have to have discussions about it, or even to the level of if you know of a way you can kind of go take a test and then share each other's results beforehand so that you're really clear about what the importance or the value you place on different things when it comes to finances, and are you going to be able to negotiate or manage the differences?
I think that's really important because, as I said at the beginning, it's one of the biggest problems in marriages, and knowing each other's money style, just as knowing each other's love style, is so valuable. And each one of those has, as you said, they've got the good points and the bad points. That there's strengths and weaknesses,
Mhm.
and that's what marriage is all about. In relationships, is to work with people's strengths and minimize their weaknesses. But
Yeah.
you'll never change Kim from being a nurturer. Like Kim's always going to want to make other people happy.
Yeah, I've tried, but that's just not who I am. And finally, I just had to accept that that is not me and it's okay. And I have my own strengths that I can leverage and embrace it, really learn to embrace who I am.
Mm,
So not that
and
I
that's
don't,
perfect.
not that I can't change or, improve in areas for sure, but that's different than kind of some of those core, I don't know, principles, I think. Do you think you can
Well,
change
who we are.
money styles? Like do you think you could change from being a maverick?
No, I don't think so. I think that's who I am. And so, as in marriage, that's really important to understand that, because a maverick and an accumulator are just like opposites. Like it's so I shouldn't get mad at him and he shouldn't get mad at me. We need to find the way to put it together.
To
And
embrace
so
each other, leverage each other's good
that's
parts, right?
and now being single, we've got to be both. And that's a trick, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
in a marriage, we need to work together and figure out those traits. And as you said, find out who you are, which trait you are, and
Yeah.
then and they are, and then sit down and have a conversation and work together.
Yeah.
But now we actually have to be both because we're by ourselves. So
It's true.
Kim can't go around and just give all away money to everybody else. That's
Yeah. At
and
some point, that will drive me to have to be an accumulator at some point in time.
at some point, that's
It will run out if I just keep nurturing.
keep nurturing, it's gonna run out. If I keep going, I'll spend it on that. Oh, I'll do that. Um, yeah, there's a spot where you got to go, okay, I need to learn some of the other traits.
Yeah.
Um, and so as a single, we'll be all in different money spots, obviously. So some people, with the divorce, they might have ended up losing nearly everything.
Yeah.
Others might have got more. Um, we hear of cases where people got more, but they want more again and are willing to go back to court.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I have heard that.
heard that. And number one piece of advice, don't. Whatever gets decided, gets decided. And now leave the past in the past and get on with your life.
Yeah.
If you want
Like
money, go
Lot's wife,
get
right? That'll just turn you to salt. It's not a healthy way to live your life, is always trying to, even if you feel really strongly about getting what you deserve or whatever. I mean, in my divorce, I thought I needed to stand up for myself because of the way I am. Like I need to be more assertive and say, this just needs to be split 50-50. That's fair. And I fought for that for a long time. And at some point I got to where, it's just money. And my emotional health and well-being is not worth this. And so I changed the way I was thinking and the way I was trying to negotiate. And I'm so much happier now. The money is not the thing that makes you happier. So that's why the advice is just when it's decided, let it go and start thinking about how can I move forward and what do I need to do to create my financial security or whatever, and not dwell in the past because that just brings so much more pain and unhappiness. And I also learned that I can live with a lot less than I thought I could. My need dramatically dropped. And like I said, I'm a lot happier now than when I had more. So it's not about the money.
It's not about the money. And that's such a big lesson. It's not about the money.
Yeah. Do you think
It's
two supporters could be married? To me, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Or two mavericks, do you think you need an offset if you're going to be in a relationship?
I think that somehow we attract opposites. So, just like the person who stays up late and the person who gets up early seem to get attracted to each other. It's like, how do you choose someone that's so opposite? Like two accumulators, their life would be boring.
I might know some people like that. But I think that one sounds safer than two mavericks or two nurturers. And I don't know if there's more types than just the three, right? Are those
Oh
the
yeah, there's lots
primary?
more
There's a lot.
types.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the person who likes to be the celebrity, the queen, and they like all the best of everything. And
All
actually,
right.
my top one is called romantic, which is I like a comfortable life.
And you have to look for somebody that's going to help provide that, right? Support you in that.
No,
Support
no,
you.
no, Kim. No, that's not wrong. Learning about this type of thing has really helped me embrace that side of me, right? Because I think I always, we should be the accumulator. We should be the person who saves and is careful. And for a fair bit of my life, we were pretty dead broke. We had a lot of children, and I was the full-time mum, and he was trying to support, like a million children. We were broke. And I've discovered that when you're really broke, there's not a lot to fight about with money. Because
there's just nothing there to fight about.
everybody agrees you
Everything
need
can
everybody agrees you need the house, you need the food, you need the electricity. Like no one's arguing those three things.
start.
There's nothing left. There's nothing to argue about. It was when we got more money that the fights about money started, of like, well, how do you spend it?
Interesting. Yeah.
Because now we're in a position where we choose how we spend it 100%. We don't have to ask someone else.
Yeah.
So
And that
you're
can
not
be
going to have,
good and bad. Scary. It can be scary, right?
it's very scary because first off, many women in particular haven't learnt the whole spectrum of managing money. Because like in my marriage, where we sort of divided, I was the full-time mum. I was the one who stayed at home. So I bought the food and the groceries and paid some of the bills, whereas he managed sort of investments and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Because my husband was getting sick at the end, so it wasn't like an instant death. It was sort of good in that way, is that I can remember having this conversation with him one day. I said, you need to give me the details of the bank accounts and and your passwords.
Yeah. So you were able to gradually learn some of that stuff and take it over instead of getting hit with it all at once.
Because if I hadn't done that, like how do you even know what's in the bank?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine writing a will that says, she gets everything, which was, that's a good will to write, by the way. If you haven't written your wills, make sure you write that, because that's a really important part of financial management, is
Yeah.
managing your money after you've gone.
Yeah.
But, as the person who inherited it all, I didn't understand how much did we need? How much did we spend? Where does the money go? Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
And he had very complicated systems, like yeah. His not strengths. The systems were so complicated, and it was like, okay, number one step, close a whole bunch of these bank accounts so I at least know what's going on. But we had different ways of managing things. He had the Excel spreadsheet, and and he showed me that, and I'm like, whoa, I don't get it. Just my personality style to have everything all in little categories, and not my personality style at all. So yeah, number one tip, and whether you're marriage, single, divorce, whatever, make sure you understand all of the financial things.
Yeah.
Everything that's in the finances.
Yeah.
And that should be
share, work together.
Yeah. Even if you divide it into, who manages which thing, make sure you both know what's going on.
Yeah, good point.
In my previous marriage, one of the things my husband did when he was starting to run out of money was he sold my life insurance to get the money.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have done that until after the divorce.
That's hard. Yeah, that would be a big blow, huh?
That's not something you should do without asking the other person.
Yeah. Those things happen, though. I'm sure there's lots of stories about stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So make sure, whether whoever you are, understand all the finances. And now it's really important for me, because now I'm in charge of all the finances.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, this accumulator husband has left me in a very nice financial position.
Mm-hmm.
But it means I now have to manage it.
So the tip isn't find an accumulator.
No. The tip is learn how to manage money.
Yeah.
We are now responsible for our own money. And even though I now know I have these particular traits, right? I'm now in charge of this money for my life. And so I have to decide how to spend it, how to accumulate it, make sure I do have money in savings, which is not something I've ever been very good at.
Yeah.
So I'm learning those traits.
What about, because you mentioned that now you also have to make all the decisions. And I know I had a close friend when she lost her husband. She was always saying to me, oh, I've got to go spend, and she'd say her husband's name. I've got to use his money for this. And I'm like, wait, isn't that your money? I'm confused. But it was just, he had always taken care of all of the financial stuff. And so to her, and he was the only breadwinner. And so to her, it was his, and she just got whatever he had assigned to her. And so it felt that way to her. I know she really struggled with that. What about you?
Yeah, I've struggled with that too, because it is. He was the one who worked. He worked very hard. He earned a lot of money. He did some really good investments.
But you told me he did it all. So far, you've spent money. You've made decisions that he never would have, right? And you're happy.
That's right. So, but remember, this is 5.5 years later. So it's that first year, I was just my head was just spinning. I'm just like, what do I do? And I didn't do anything. Like, I just sat in my house depressed and going, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I was closing bank accounts just because I couldn't manage them all. I couldn't, I'm just not a detailed person. So to manage all these bank accounts with money coming and going was too hard. And the only bad thing I found he did, he was spending money on a Tats Lotto ticket. And that was a shock. I thought we'd agreed that Tats Lotto was not the way to run finances. So He had my phone, so it's not too bad. It was a bit of a shock that he had Tats Lotto, and it was a regular thing. I think we can close it down. So yes. But so yeah, that was the only bad thing he did. So it wasn't too bad. I didn't find any other secrets. But yeah, learning how to run it. And so in the first year, it was just mind-blowing, and just trying to figure out where the money was coming from and where it was going took me the whole year. But yes, after that, it was like, oh, I've got more money than I thought I had. And COVID came along, and I'm sitting there depressed at home, and a friend of mine said something about motorhoming, and I went, oh, it'd be good. I could do that. And I literally Googled, motorhomes for sale or something like that. And on the Monday, a salesman phoned me up and said, would you like to come and look at one? I went, yeah. So off I went and looked at this motorhome, and I went, I'm going to buy it, and literally went out and bought this motorhome.
And that's something he never would have done.
He would never have bought a motorhome. We used to, we very rarely holidayed if it wasn't camping. Like camping was our holiday, and we had a camper trailer, and that's the sort of holiday he loved. And we had a great time, and when the kids were little, it was a perfect way to camp. It was like, I can't put the camper trailer up by myself. I can't manage this by myself. I can't do it. And so I renovated the camper trailer and gave it to my daughter, who had 3 little boys, and they've had wonderful trips in the camper trailer. And so even just giving it away was sort of like, oh, giving away one of our assets, It's like a camper trailer, wasn't anyway. And I bought myself a motorhome and proceeded to travel around in a motorhome.
Yeah.
And then
you loved it. That was a great decision for you, right?
It was a great decision. But $100,000 just spent like that. It was like, whoa, that maverick part of me. It's like
Maverick coming out.
I remember actually, like I said, yes, I'd buy it. And I think he went away to get the papers or something to sign. And I'm sitting in the camper van going, whoa, what have I just done?
Yeah,
whoa.
scary.
Great decision. You definitely look like you suited. And I did. I spent the next 2 years of all of, how places locked down and then other places opened up and places locked down. And I said to people, I just go where COVID isn't. Wherever it isn't, that's where I'm going.
Oh,
and I've got some great stories about just missing lockdowns and stuff. But then I came home from my travels, and I would sit in the house and I'd just go, I hate it here. I hate this, And so, it started the thinking of like, I need to sell the house. And that's a big decision. And I think the advice that everybody gives is don't make any big decisions in the first year. Is brilliant. Like, don't, it was good to sit and be depressed for a year and just get things sorted, slowly. But then I made this big decision, like, I'm going to sell this house. And I am so happy with that decision. I bought myself a townhouse. And he would never have bought a townhouse. There's no yard. There's not a decent garage. There's nowhere to go and do woodwork, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's me. I don't want to do all that stuff. I've got a 25-meter pool that I get to swim in and I don't have to clean. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So, we need to, but, now I'm in the, like, I meant to make sure I don't spend all the money. I've got to keep some of it.
Yeah. We've got to be careful.
Yeah. And then,
and the law of consecration is real. We got to be thinking about that. And how do we, people sometimes too are afraid to make money. Like they have fear of success or fear, like they get a lot of blocks about money, right? And have a hard time overcoming it based on how they were raised or the sayings that their parents that they grew up with that influence them. All those things get in the way.
Absolutely. So what we've got programmed about money very early, and you will find it running our lives now. And so everybody will remember the saying of money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, what does that even mean? It's like but your parents were trying to tell you there wasn't money everywhere. In actual fact, there is money everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's that programming. You have to work hard to make money. Who do you think we're made of money? There's all sorts of sayings around that
Yeah.
suggest that money's hard to get. And if you've grown up with people saying that to you, you're going to be sitting here as a single person thinking, I need more money. And
Yeah.
you're going
This
to
is
be
scary.
freaked about how am I going to get more money? Whereas in actual fact, there's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have recommendations for having financial conversations? Because I know this is indicative of how unsolid my relationship was. My ex-husband and I had very different opinions about money, and so any discussion would end in an argument, and so we just didn't have the arguments. And my solution was, I'll just make my money so I can spend it how I want. And we didn't have the conversations about it, which is not at all healthy. But do you have recommendations or tips on how do you broach having those discussions before you're married, even so you really understand or have a good sense of each other's philosophies and how you would manage differences?
Yeah, I think learning some of the stuff we're talking about, that there's different personality styles, there's different beliefs about money. So finding out those questions, ask those questions. What was your parents' money like? What are the sayings you remember from childhood? Like, learn those things, because that will give you a clue to what's going on in their head. I think now, like looking at future relationships as single people, I think it's a different story again. I liked running, with I was a young mum, as young couples with no money whatsoever, and having, one person in charge of the home and the children and the other one out working. I think that whole combine your money, it's everybody's money, decide who's spending what. I think that's a really good way to do it as a young couple, and really combine, you're working together.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like if I was to marry again, I would keep our money quite separate.
Yeah. Well, and then
And
you hear all those stories about having getting remarried and then something happens, and that, like, if I got remarried, do I want my new husband to have my posterity, or do I want my children to have that? So you do have to also think about those decisions and make sure that you have it well defined and written out how you want those things to happen, because I know there's been so many hard feelings about a step person getting it, or the stepdad or the stepmom getting things that they didn't feel they deserved, or there's just so many things around money. And so you really do have to think about it ahead of time and kind of map all that stuff out, I think.
I think so. Yes, I think if I was to get serious in a relationship now, it would be a dating conversation, and
Mhm.
it would be quite I don't know what the right word is, distinct. Like, it'd be very clear,
Mhm.
because yeah, we can spend whatever, and how even you spend the money, I guess now, but certainly when you come to wills, it's like,
Mhm.
we've actually written. So before my husband died, he had, because he's got children from a previous marriage, and
Right.
and some of our children from my previous marriage, and then we had two children together. So it's a real yours, mine, and ours family.
Mhm.
And we wrote a will at the time that can't be changed,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
because he wanted to make sure that all those kids were looked after. And that was one of the things that he felt was important for his peace, to
Yeah.
know that his
Good
children
man.
get, yeah. And I mean, he's right in that, 20 years from now, like, I'll have, basically forgotten his kids. I don't see them. They weren't really a big part of our life. So yeah, it was, he was wise in being concerned about that. And if I was to marry again, you would have that sort of issue of like, well, you know, I have children from there here, children from there, and then these stepchildren over here. Like it's
Yeah.
write your will, like, and you know, obviously go to a lawyer. You can't do this yourself. You've got to go to a lawyer and write it in such a way that you're clear about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I would expect that of my partner as well. If you've got children, that their stuff will go to there. And so, you know, as you combine things, you know, obviously you're going to, well, presumably you're going to live in one house, but you need to define that and clarify how that's going to be split up. And you're going to spend money if one's got more than others and one wants to go on fancy cruises and one's, you know, hasn't got the money, how are you going to manage that? I think there's a lot of conversations, you know, even more than the young couples conversations. But there's a book for young couples that I would recommend called Barefoot Investor.
Barefoot Investor. Okay.
Barefoot Investor. And he talks about having a money date. So through your marriage, have a date where you sit and discuss money and discuss how it's being spent, how much you're saving, what your plans are.
I like that.
And he actually outlines things you can have in your conversations.
I like that a lot.
I wonder if it's just an Australian book. Don't know. Anyway, it's a really good book. And when my grandchildren turn 18, I actually give them a set of books of all of the things that I think are valuable for them to have as long-term references. And that's one I give them.
That's cool.
It's a good, yeah. So, yeah, I think, to summarize, it's like, you know, let go of the past.
Yeah.
You know, don't keep going back to court and trying to get more money out of your ex. It's whatever was decided's decided, and now you get on with moving forward.
Yeah.
And there are options for making money out there, everybody. So start thinking about that. Put your energy and time into that.
Yeah, and it's never too late. I got my doctorate degree when I was 57. So, you know, Louise Hay started a publishing company when she was 60. I have some heroes that are, you know, starting new things, entrepreneurial things or whatever it may be in their 60s and 65s. And I still have a goal to do my Olympic triathlon, you know, so don't get stuck in that. It's too late for me to find a way to earn money or go back to school or any of those things, because it's just not true.
Yeah, absolutely. So get on with earning money. And if you find yourself with that mindset of like, I can't, or it won't work, look back into your childhood and hear the messages from your parents and realize that it's the programming that they had. And that might have come from, you know, many of us had grandparents that were in the Depression and things like that. And do you realize that more millionaires were made in the Depression than at any other time in history?
No, I had no idea. That's interesting.
I hadn't heard that one. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? So I look at my own finances, and you know, the global financial crisis that happened in 2008 was probably we made our money. You know, we did extremely well through that. So you know, don't listen to the news that tells you everything's really bad.
Yeah.
We are rich as we've ever been in life. We've got way more than any time in history. That's
why the questioning what you really need and realizing you can get by with so much less and still feel so much happiness and joy in life. So that's another thing. The other thing I was going to say is the church's self-reliance program is really good. And I love that it has a spiritual focus. So that's another really good resource to use and look up. They have going back to school as a self-reliance class. They have growing your business, which I took that one. It was really good. So
they have the managing money one as well. So yes, highly recommend the actual self-reliance course and the money managing course. And then yes, if you want to start your do that one too. These are free resources, people. These are available right there and then. And if your ward isn't running it, first off, tell them they should,
Yeah.
or your stake.
Yeah.
Next off, if you can't, they're actually online. You can just do the course yourself. You don't have to wait till there's one. But it is good to do it with a group because you do get that interaction and hear
I
what's
like
going
doing it with a group, but I think you can search out where there are groups even, because there might even be some online. I'm not entirely sure on that. We should check, but yeah, definitely look into the things they have available related to self-reliance.
Yeah. So everybody, that's discussion on money. Hopefully we've given you lots of different ideas here, but yeah, money is an important topic. We can't avoid it. It is part of life. Now that we're single, we are responsible for our money. So we need to look at our personality and realize we have to be all of those personality. We need to be, you need to spend money because it's the fun of life to do things, but you also need to be concentrating on saving money and and don't let your age or, sometimes ex-partners have told you negative things about you, like heal that side so you can get on and be who God made you to be.
Thriving LDS single.
So thanks, Kim, for being with me today as we discussed one of my favorite topics of money.
Thanks for your expertise. I'm sure there's plenty more we could talk about. So we'd like to hear from you guys what your thoughts and questions are. And Kay is a great resource.
Yeah, we'd love to hear the questions. Yeah, love to hear the questions and the buts.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Kim, thank you. And we will see you all next week.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.